She has taken a woman lover. Whatever shall we do? She has taken a woman lover. How lucky it wasn't you. And all the day through she smiles and lies and grits her teeth and pretends to be shy or weak or busy. Then she goes home and pounds her own nails, makes her own bets, and fixes her own car with her friend. She goes as far as women can go without protection from men. On weekends, she dreams of becoming a tree that dreams it is ground up and sent to the paper factory, where it lies helpless in sheets, until it dreams of becoming a paper airplane and rises on its own current, where it turns into a bird, a great coasting bird that dreams of becoming more free even than that, a feather.
Hello all, and welcome to this evening's Sinister Wisdom Zoom program. I'm thrilled to have you here. I'm going to start with an unscripted disclaimer. It's just me behind the curtain and reading the script and facilitating the program. So anticipate some technical challenges and programmatic flubs as we move through the evening. My comrade Sierra was going to help me. She's starting a brand new exciting internship at the bio station in Iowa. And so I think something came up and she couldn't help. And it's just been a week after a long month for me. And so I didn't get stuff lined up. So I appreciate your patience this evening. I am thrilled to welcome you to this celebration of the Southern lesbian feminist activist Herstory project. We just saw a slideshow of all 6 of the issues that have been published by the Herstory project in conjunction with Sinister Wisdom over the past 8 years. 8 years, Rose Norman. It's kind of amazing to think of. My name is Julie Enzer, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this evening's event. Now I get more into the formal script part. And so, first of all, before we begin, I do want to spend a moment for a land acknowledgement as we've joined in that tradition. We are all located around the United States and around the world, many, if not all of us, on occupied, unceded land. I am in what is now Dover, Florida, traditional homelands and territories of the Seminole. I invite you to insert into the chat your location and acknowledge the land on which you live as we pause for a moment to recognize the histories of war and colonization and to imagine and work for a world where we have a fair and equitable distribution of resources. I also note that many of us, including me, were looking quickly at the news and seeing this other horrific school shooting in Texas. And so I just want to acknowledge that that's one of the things happening. We have a celebratory evening planned for us tonight. But as always, I think we are learning to hold the joys and celebrations of life with the many sorrows that we're seeing in the world. So tonight we're going to talk about the Herstory project overall, and we're also going to do some tribute and celebration of its wonderful leader who has really worked on this over the past 8 years and longer. Rose Norman has really served as executive editor for all 6 issues. So we have special celebration things planned for Rose, some of which she is entirely unaware of. And we hope, I will pin her later as we go forward, and we hope to capture her in moments of surprise and delight. Because that's what this celebration is about. I'll do a quick, I feel like you're all family and I don't even need to say much about Sinister Wisdom, but we are a quarterly journal of lesbian literature and art. I encourage you all, if you're not, to become a subscriber, to renew your subscription, and to share gift subscriptions. Since 2012, Sinister Wisdom has worked in collaboration with the Southern Lesbian Feminist Activist Herstory Project to publish 6 volumes dedicated to telling the stories unearthed by the Herstory Project. And here are all 6 volumes together. All Sinister Wisdom subscribers have received each volume, and now we have them for everyone in a boxed set with the logo of both organizations on each side. They're available to everyone as a box set, and they're also available if you've been a subscriber the whole time and would like to put your copies in your own box. We do mail boxes out flat. They're very easy to put together. So I'm going to put information in the chat when we get to our the first part of our program, and I have a chance to cut and paste from my document. As I said, if you're not currently a subscriber, please do subscribe. You can do that at sinisterwisdom.org/subscribe, and think about becoming a monthly sustainer. In addition to giving money to the organization each month, it keeps your subscription always coming to you, so you never ever miss an issue. And to date, I've been editing Sinister Wisdom for 12 years now. We've also never missed a deadline. So all of the issues have gotten out on time. The post office has conspired against us on a couple occasions, but things are working more smoothly now. So our usual housekeeping things: keep your microphone muted throughout the program. If I detect noise, I will mute you. As the program proceeds, if you want to show appreciation, as you're doing already, you can wave your hands. You can use the emojis at the bottom labeled reactions. You can put things into the chat, which everyone will be able to see. If you need technical assistance, please don't, but you can private chat me and I will try to get to it. And you can also private chat other people you know who might be able to help you with whatever technical issue that you're having. And as you heard when you came in, we are recording this event. The recording will be uploaded to the website tomorrow or Thursday at sinisterwisdom.org/SW124. So now on to our program. Usually we do lengthy kind of formal introductions for everybody as we do our program event and events. I'm not doing that tonight, again, because you're all part family. So I'm just really introducing people by name. And if you want to learn more about them, you can read about them in the 6 issues that are a part of the Southern Lesbian Feminist Activist Herstory Project. So to begin our evening and define our sacred, shared, intellectual, and activist space, I'd like to invite Drea Firewalker to offer the opening blessing for this event. Drea.
Ah, what an honor, what an honor. A blessing for Rose and friends who carried one another through the many days and the years of the Herstory Project. We all stood holding each other together. Rose, like the landlines you once referred to, you heard each individual signal of friends that gathered and guided the personalities of those and held us in a tightly woven web to recall and capture the stories of many lesbians. In time, we would all vibrate with the connections you saw unfold in the gathered stories from those that have passed through the veil and those still present. Kay Gardner said, "Our chakras swirl," and wow, did they ever. 6 volumes of Herstory, our stories, your stories. Rose, you once called yourself a list mistress, but truly you listened as a great goddess mistress. A million questions must have run through our minds as we searched for stories. Each of our energies were like floating bubbles moving ever so gently together, which we appreciate. We each held fast and manifested and dreamt the visions of lesbians connected and believed strongly in the importance of preserving lesbian stories. Each of us allowed our auras to rub off of one another. We put our hearts in joyfulness and guided and supported each other's spirits. Miriam once said, "You all captured words written down by many. They can be read. You allowed those that passed over to keep coming back in the written word. Rose, you helped hold us in your strong hands. You encouraged us to meet our deadlines that resulted in many names being held in the Sinister Wisdom volumes. And Rose and all of us have captured many lesbians on their journey. As a result, many have been among us that will never be forgotten. We all hold and held the souls of the women by their words that has been written down. As the project neared completion, Rose, you declared yourself more relaxing time, more time for yourself, more times to walk in the park. And once you said, in the quiet of the night, Rose, you heard sparkling sounds inside your head clamoring for attention. I heard the crickets, distant sounds that drew me into a transformational experience. The Herstory project, I hope, has been that great transformational experience. Rose, we want to thank you. We love you. We bless you into your new pathways that will lead you into your new magical moments of your discoveries. Keep moving your wings as you fly with your own stories to tell, and keep writing them down. For Rose, may you open the doors of your dreams and step boldly in every day. We bless you.
Thank you so much, Drea. That was wonderful. Now, as if 6 issues of Sinister Wisdom over 8 years were not enough, the intrepid lesbian feminist activists at the Southern Lesbian Feminist Activist Herstory Project decided that now they're going to make a website. And they are launching and sharing that website this evening for everyone. So I have Rose spotlighted. Rose is going to talk a little bit about the website because the Herstory Project group nominated Rose for this role to talk about this. And Rose, I have the website up that I'm going to share. Do you want me to share right now? Or okay. All right, so I'm going to share screen. Here we go. Oh yeah, okay, this is my first technical thing. I'm just gonna double check that I'm sharing the right thing. Okay, now share screen. Everyone can see this is the Southern Lesbian Feminist Activist Herstory Project website. And Rose, tell us a little bit about it. And if you want me to drive folks around it, I am happy to do that as well.
Wow, there was so much to tell. We had no idea how challenging this would be. and we didn't try to do it by ourselves. I mean, we hired Susan Roy, who I see out there in the audience, who has experience and wanted to get more experience. And she gave us a really good price, which turned out to be about half of what it would take her to do it. And she has just been wonderful. You know, I've done some WordPress websites like for dyke writers, but you know, I never did anything like this. I mean, look at that big banner heading, that logo, unbelievable what went into producing that logo. And you can read about it on here under About Us. You'll have a story. I mean, just about everything in here has a long, complicated, amazing, miraculous story. There's a discussion of the logo itself and the pieces of it, and also about the creation of the logo, which, if you can imagine, a whole bunch of lesbians got together and agreed enthusiastically on a single logo. One thing we couldn't ever figure out was a better name. I mean, Southern Lesbian Feminist Activist Herstory Project says it all, but it doesn't trip easily off the tongue. And we never came up with a logo, but everybody could have, not a logo, an acronym that everybody could agree on. Although Corky had one long time ago, Lesbian Activist Feminist Stories, I think it was, LAFS, laughs. But people thought maybe it was just too light. No, it wasn't serious enough. We are so serious. Let's see if we can go back to the home page. Well, let's see. Well, let's go down the page and look down the side. You'll see. Well, we're going to have a spotlight, an interview that is spotlighted every month. That'll be on the center. It'll have a photograph, and it'll be an interview that is spotlighted. And we're spotlighting the Southerners on New Ground this month. And for that, we wrote a story about where they are now. We have interviews with all 6 of the people you see in that photograph, way back from the very first issue that we did in 2014. So all of those were already online because Sinister Wisdom put them online when we did that first issue. That's when we found out how hard it is to put a whole bunch of interviews online. But they did it. There's, I think, 16 or 17, of which those 6 right there are online at sinisterwisdom.org/SW93 supplement. And they have a great website. I'm sure you know the Sinister Wisdom website has a trove of great information. But if you go down the categories, you'll see we have 6 categories, which basically connect to the categories that our different interviews fall into. We have 125 interviews that we have done since we started interviewing people in 2012, of which maybe half have been archived or at least emailed to Duke for archiving. They're doing our archiving to the Sally Bingham Center for Women's History and Culture in the Rubenstein Library. So if you'll click on Culture and the Arts, some of the interviews are going to fit in more than one category, but the very first one, if you scroll down, the categories are going to have a list of all the interviews we have that fit that category. So if what you're interested in, scrolling down the page, is Culture and the Arts, you can read about the Sarah Chestnut and her work for Alpha, the Atlanta Lesbian Feminist Alliance, and then that long thing under there, those are all tags. So in the search screen, if you search, those tags will give you, I think the search screen connects to the tags. You can search on a name or a topic, and if we have anything about that, it'll go there. So keep going. Your Girlfriend, the Wibbles Community Band. I interviewed the founders of that band, Laura Shine and Carol Kramer, who are shown in the picture there with the 5 members of the band. And Phyllis Free, who's also in that picture and who's on our project, edited this interview. Editing interviews for the web turned out to be a really interesting thing, especially since that one was 40 pages long. She's interviewing the transcript of the interview. That's what we're posting. When we have a transcript, that's what we're posting. So go back over to the side and you'll see there's 5 more categories that people fit into. There's also an alphabetical list, and somewhere up there is contributors. Go to the contributors page, because I just wanted to comment on how many people have contributed to this project over the years. So there's the 125 interviewees, and as we get bios for them, we'll post them and you'll be able to click and read about these 125 people. And we're still interviewing people. And then there's 13 so far people doing interviews. And then the next category is authors, artists, and or editors. And theirs, I think that's about 65 people who have written stories for Sinister Wisdom or worked on art or edited. And then the Herstory Project members of the last category. And all these people we're working on getting bios. And the last thing I want to say, and I don't know how much time I have, but the last thing I want to say is this is the beginning. You know, Susan Roy has gotten the website up and running and designed, and you know, we're just thrilled to death with what she's accomplished. But, you know, her contract ends at the end of June, and that leaves us to keep going. Instead of publishing issues of Sinister Wisdom that we work on for a year or so, we're going to be updating this website. And right now we have quite a lot of opportunities for participation if you would like to get involved. The biggest one is to edit interviews that have already been done. And we have like a one-page instructions for what you need to do to get it ready for the website. Which is not that hard. It's just somebody has to do it. And with 125, it's not going to be the same person doing it. But that's a task that you could try to just dip your toe in. You know, if you just want to see if you are interested, you could try editing one interview and then sending it to our proofreader. Our proofreader in chief right now is Janine Normand, who has read every single interview that has been edited and much else. And we could use some more members of that proofreading team to assist her in catching typos and formatting errors and things like that. If you'd like to do an interview, we're working on putting together an interview team. If you're interested in transcribing interviews, we are right now don't have anybody transcribing except for pay. We pay people. And we're also collecting all those 125 bios, which means pick out a photograph and then write a little bio that will connect all those people that are listed as interviewers and interviewees. I guess I've said enough there. Julie, do you see anything else you think we ought to look at?
No, I think that was wonderful. It's a fantastic website. We are thrilled to see you all launch it and see how it develops over the next months and years. Now, as we move to our next part of the program, part of what you see is part of what we were wondering about as Rose, who's been one of the visionaries with Meryl Mushroom and many other people behind this, is what really makes Rose tick. And one of the ways we thought that we could learn more about what makes Rose tick is to have a special astrological reading for Rose right here while we're all in the room together. So Rose, Jenny Yates has prepared a special astrology reading for you. I'm going to now add Jenny as a spotlight. And Jenny, you can take over and do your reading with Rose as we all watch and learn. Jenny, you're muted. Yep.
Okay. What makes Rose the organizing genius that she is? What compelled her to devote so much time and attention to this enormous project, the Southern Lesbian Feminist Activist Herstory Project? Why is she driven to make sure the stories of our communities are preserved? Well, let's take a look at her natal chart. The moon has to do with women and a person's interaction with them, as well as with one's basic emotional needs. Rose's moon is in the earth sign Capricorn, the most disciplined and responsible sign in the zodiac. And here you see her ethic of hard work. For her, emotional satisfaction comes from setting and meeting ambitious goals, especially relating to women and our communities. Capricorn is also the sign of structure and tradition, and so Rose has a special interest in safeguarding the past. And because her moon is conjunct the expansive planet Jupiter, she doesn't just conserve the past, but expands our understanding of it. By adding in the stories of our communities, she recognizes the structures that have shaped us, that have made us the women we are. Most lesbians owe our lives on some level to lesbian community. We've found love and support, spiritual sustenance, sometimes jobs, and the strength to make changes in the world we live in. It's been a powerful thing. And so Rose, in protecting and passing along these stories, emphasizes their importance. Rose also has the sun in Libra, the zodiacal sign that's especially involved in balance and fairness. In this project, she corrects an imbalance. Without her work, these stories might disappear. Women's lives are often swallowed when history is recorded. Rose is making sure that that won't happen. Rose has the fire sign Leo rising, and that's what pushes her towards activism. Rising in her chart in Leo are Mars and Pluto, the planet of action and the planet of power, closely linked together. And so Rose is a woman who takes action to claim power. She's drawn to the heroic quality of women's community. She sees fierce, exciting ideas. She sees resistance against years of social stigma. She sees the formation of a vibrant, dynamic culture, and she documents this for all of us. It's that fierce Mars-Pluto conjunction in Leo that keeps her pushing, often behind the scenes, for transformation. And preserving the activism of the past, Rose provides a platform for new ideas, new visions, new forms of political and cultural activity. In many ways, lesbians have been assimilated into the mainstream these days. But we know where we came from, the well springs of our passion and creativity, and that's thanks to Rose.
Thank you so much, Jenny. That was lovely. Let's see. So now I'm removing, and Rose, I'm going to take you out of the spotlight for a brief moment here. If I can, there's that button. And we now have one of the things as we were thinking, as Meryl and I were thinking about this celebration, is that in addition to demonstrating our affection for Rose and for the entire project, we also wanted to pause and look at the bigger picture of how the work of the Southern Lesbian Feminist Activist Herstory Project fits into broader stories of making history and building archives. And so we're joined this evening by two people a little removed from the project, LaShonda Mims, who's just getting to us. And so we'll start with Kelly Wooten. When Kelly entered the room, many people were excited to see her. She has a special background for us. Kelly is the Research Services and Collection Development Librarian for the Sally Bingham Center at Duke University. Rose and the Southern Lesbian Feminist Activist Herstory Project have been working with her to archive everything that they have. So Kelly, I am now going to spotlight you to talk to us a little bit about the significance of the project.
Thanks so much, Julie. And I also have my special Virgo earrings for this evening. Part of the foundational work for this project began with Beth York and Rose Norman exploring our collections at the Sally Bingham Center and talking to me and our director, Laura Mickham, about the Southern Lesbian Feminists represented in our archives and wider networks. And as a side note, Rose, Beth, Julie, and LaShonda all received research travel grants from the Bingham Center around the same time. So it's really exciting to see all of them in this space together, and a little shocking that it's 10 years later or more, even more longer than that. The Sally Bingham Center was founded in 1988, in part as a response to the lack of a central locus of women's history in the American South. And over the past 30 years has become a significant repository of collections documenting Southern lesbian feminist lives alongside other women's history stories. It would take the rest of my time to list all these collections by name, and I would risk leaving something or someone out. But in short, this project expands on and enhances the Bingham Center's records of the people and collectives who came together in love and struggle to create change. We are energized to see how this oral history project has grown into a robust and more widely accessible resource, all for the people who are represented in these conversations, for current researchers, for future generations, and also as a starting point and an invitation for new conversations, further exploration, and more robust documentation of Southern lesbian feminist activism, past and present. So on behalf of myself, Laura Mickham, the Bingham Center, and my colleagues at the Rubenstein Library, we appreciate your trust in making us the archival home for these interviews and transcripts, and look forward to continuing collaboration.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I know so many folks. I've met so many people who've been interviewed who were just so excited that their interview was living at Duke. So it's a real pleasure, and I thank you for joining us this evening. I believe LaShonda Mims is on the call. LaShonda, can you say something?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent, excellent. I'm going to now I'm going to put the spotlight on you. Do you have your, oh yes, and you have your video on as well. All right, so the other person talking about the significance of this project is Dr. LaShonda Mims. She's a historian who teaches at Middle Tennessee State University and specializes in lesbian histories of the South. Her first book, Drastic Dykes and Accidental Activists, Queer Women in the Urban South, is coming out this December from the University of North Carolina Press. I've had the pleasure of reading it. It's fantastic. And LaShonda is going to provide some brief comments for us now.
Hi, folks. LaShonda, who can't remember that she lives in Central Time Zone. I've never lived anywhere but Eastern Time Zone, so forgive me for burning in here. And not finishing my eye makeup, but I'll get over it. So Julie told me I can't improvise. Let me move quickly. So what I discovered in my research, which much of it began at Duke, where Kelly was talking about, but it also took place in oral history transcripts of a few women in Atlanta. And what I learned quickly was that finding lesbian histories in the South meant digging through layers and layers of coded language, but also layers and layers of various sources trying to piece those things together. So for example, lesbians go to a bar, they are softball players. Where is that bar located? Where are gay men hanging out? Trying to sort of pin this map together. But it absolutely wouldn't have been possible without oral history transcripts from a very few women. To have Southern lesbian history archived in oral histories, in those voices, will change the field for lesbian history, which many historians have been asking over and over for years. Where are the lesbians? Where are they? And why aren't historians talking about them? And much of it happens because we don't have these projects in the same way that we do gay men's projects. They simply aren't out there and labeled in ways that are easily accessible. Having these oral histories that you all have generously given to researchers mean that we can find that collection, we can send our students there, and our students can actually build a piece of research in the short 6 weeks that they might have to begin a project. And indeed, my interest in lesbian history began in 2002 as a student from a scrap of history, and that was about gay men. And it's taken me that long to get it to the book form. But our students will now have the benefit of your good work to move that even further and help them historicize these stories. And most importantly, as a reviewer of my book said, they will bring oral history and Southern oral history to the movement of queer oral history. Queer oral history is growing, but we don't have the voices in the US South, and we particularly don't have them for women. So thank you on behalf of my students and all of the folks in the US Queer South Studies landscape. I'll be at 2 conferences in 2 weeks and looking forward to talking about your good work and this excellent resource, which I know is going to move the field forward within the next 5 to 10 years. Thank you for having me. Forgive me for burning in at the last minute.
Thank you so much, LaShonda. We now have another brief multimedia moment. where we're going to pause and remember women involved in the project who are no longer with us. So I am sharing the screen right now, and we begin.
I'm thinking about the ones who aren't here and won't be coming in late. Home all alone and the family, and won't be coming out tonight. Wish I could know all the lovers and friends kept from gathering. I think of you now, the ways you could go. We're all of us refugees. Telling myself and the family, my friends and the folks on the job, one by one, and it's never been easy.
Thank you. So now I'm going to spotlight Rose again. Oh, Rose, don't roll your eyes. You're large enough for me to see that, not just a small square. The final part of our program, we have people who are going to pay tribute and thank you for your work, and I'll be adding them for the spotlight as we move through that, giving personal testimonials about what it's meant to work on this project and work with you. The order that I have for people is Meryl, Leaf, Phyllis, Beth. And if there are others who would like to join this, put either private message me in the chat or put something in the chat and I'll build a little queue. We have just a little bit of time left. So if a couple other people want to join in, that's fine. We have another surprise tribute. And then Rose, we're saving, you get about a minute to respond to it all at the end before we go into our final dance number. So I'm going to remove my spotlight right now, and I am going to spotlight the wonderful Meryl Mushroom, who I just had. There she is. And Meryl, if you would get us started on our personal testimonials.
Yes, this is to Rose, R-O-S-E. R, our ready, relaxed, radical rock star. You read, review, revise our robust writings required for the real revolutionary revival of our Southern lesbian feminist activist herstory. Ready to rise, to rally, to roar. Oh, you organize, offer opportunities to outline our output. Outwardly, we obey your orders, observing obvious occurrences and odd operations, or otherwise overseeing our own ongoing objectives. S, you are a smart, supportive, strong supervisor, supplying seldom seen scripts, sharing sensational subjects, stupendous stories, superb selections. E, you are an efficient editor, eager, earnest, ever emitting excellent energy. You engage us, encouraging easy examination of each endeavor, evidently exciting expressions of every essay emerge. Thanks, Rose, for being who you are and doing it the way you do it. And I love you.
Thank you so much, Meryl. That was lovely. You have a way with the consonants. Now I'm going to welcome Leaf. Leaf, I'm adding you as a spotlight. Please read your testimonial for Rose.
Indeed. It doesn't seem like over 10 years ago when we were gathered on the porch of Radcliffe Hall at Woman Rights, where we were struck by the need to preserve our Southern Dyke herstory. We rolled out a giant sheet of white paper on the porch floor and let out a barrage of memories. We were exhilarated, but what would we do with all these notes and recollections? Enter Rose and call a meeting to further the discussion of our herstory. And we began to refine it, our Southern and lesbian and activist herstory. Before long, the project became a regular slot on the Woman Rights Workshop board. I went to the meetings energized to recount a herstory I had been part of. Rose came with handouts and she began to make charts, filling in a story and a woman's name if she barely raised her hand to volunteer to do research, contact other women and write. Eventually, Rose got serious with timelines and deadlines. Rose began to say, Julie wants just so many words, like that was going to keep us on track. Rose offered many opportunities to participate, write, edit, interview, proofread, keep track of stuff, meet twice a year at Woman Rights and once in the winter in Atlanta before Woman Rights planning meetings. I did a little of everything for each Sinister Wisdom issue. Eventually, she hooked me into managing the illustrations for our last two Sinister Wisdom issues, but not without guidance. She sent a preliminary list of photos for 117 that she had already done a good bit of work on. She knows all the jobs, and sometimes you have to wrestle them away from her. Rose sends lots of emails and reminders and examples and suggestions. You can tell Rose is a Libra. She weighed a lot of our suggestions, trying hard to consider every angle of a dilemma that we ran across. But when a cutoff for a date for each Sinister Wisdom got near, she didn't let us forget it. Let that proofreading begin. She made it happen. We'd never have created all these 6 masterpieces without her.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Leaf. I'm adding Phyllis Free to the spotlight. She is our next speaker. Phyllis, you're muted, I see. So unmute before you begin. Phyllis, you're still muted.
Don't do it yet. Bill says. Shh.
Sorry, my screen just disappeared and I found it right down at the bottom. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to say, Julie, I didn't get any note about not improvising, and you may not know this, but I live my life by improvisation. So I'm just going to chat for a minute, and I've got my timer on. So when I think about Rose, one of the images that came to my mind is the compass rose as a metaphor for life that can go in many different directions, as this project certainly has. And Rose's steadfast commitment to this project, through that, she's not only been the navigator, but charting the course as we go along, but she's also been the captain at the helm of this incredible ship for this expedition that we launched way back a decade ago, that this ship is still afloat and we have entered more ports of call than any of us would ever have imagined. And through it all, Rose Norman has kept this ship on an even keel. I started thinking about descriptions, and one of the first words that came to mind was quiet. But then I realized, no, Rose is not really quiet. It's calm. That's the word, calm. She's kept it all calm. And all the way through, and it's also interesting how she could negotiate both ends of something. You mentioned, somebody mentioned about the deadlines and the word count. Oh, Julie says we can only have so many words. And so she's negotiating, you know, getting us to try to edit things down, which is good for us as writers and editors to give us that discipline. But at the same time, I knew she was negotiating on the other end with Julie, like, well, couldn't we just spread that word count out a little bit more? So she not only keeps it on an even keel where we are, but she works both sides. And that boom's going back and forth, and Rose is just steadfast, just moving right on ahead. Rose, Captain Rose, I salute you. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you have done, all that you do, and the ways you do it. Love you.
Thank you so much, Phyllis. Our final testimonial is from Beth, who's also sharing our final special surprise. So Beth, you can move into your speaking and then take us through the final surprise of the evening.
Oh, great. Thank you. Rose, I had this wonderful memory of us after we wrote the grant to go to Duke. And we decided to do this together, that we would travel, we would meet each other in Durham, stay at the hotel not far from the university, and go to the rare books and special collections at the Rubenstein Library together, where we met Kelly. And Kelly, I'm so happy to see you here. What a wonderful, wonderful experience that was, to enter into that beautiful special collections room and see the two of us dive in to magical boxes that Kelly had provided for us. These were the boxes that we were going to explore. And it was like a treasure chest. We were so excited. She was on one side of the room, I was on the other. She would say, look what I found here. I think she was really interested in Mab Segrist at the time and was studying anything that she could find about Mab. I was looking at the Alpha archives, the Atlanta Lesbian Feminist Alliance archives, where I was finding information about Lucina's music, Orchid Productions, the music production companies in Atlanta where I had performed, because I was writing a memoir. And so together we experienced this joy of finding this buried treasure at the special collections room. Yes, we connected as scholars, as researchers, as professors, and found the love of this herstory together in that way. And I will forever be grateful to you for connecting me with this project. What an honor it has been to work with you. You are so easy to work with because research comes so naturally to you. Naturally, it is to organize and to work with us. So thank you, Rose, for everything. And we were asked, Barb and I were actually asked to provide a little bit of
entertainment for you. And Rose, we know you love singing, but you won't know this song yet. It's a very new song.
It's hard to put into words how much we love you, but we've done our best with this song.
And our scarves.
Yeah. At Indian Springs, Southern lesbians gathered to write and to read and to learn from each other.
Once in the spring and once in the fall, from all over the South, they answered the call. From all over the South, they answered the call.
From sweet Alabama, a woman named Rose, an English professor who wrote mostly prose, was held in esteem for her skills and her logic with a Southeastern Lesbian Herstory project.
The Southeastern Lesbian Herstory Project. It was Merrill the elder who brought us together to save Southern Lesbian Herstory treasure. Memories fade and we'll forget who we were. Radical lesbians creating culture. Radical lesbians creating culture.
We created a timeline and then promptly lost it. Farm thought of a way to preserve and record it.
Sinister wisdom was a place we might share.
And Rose Norman took it from there.
Rose Norman gallantly took it from there. She organized, publicized, calmly cajoled. Herstory's project began to be told. Poetry interviews came to fruition for Sinister's Wisdom Special Edition. Sinister Wisdom Special Edition.
We had written much more than one volume could hold. Rose asked Julie Enzer, can more stories unfold in future editions? And Julie said yes, and more special editions flew off the press.
More special editions flew off the press. There were landites and hotspots, arts, music, and more. Organizations and spirit galore. We wrote from our hearts and Rose guided and held us. The lesbian writers can be quite rebellious.
Those lesbian writers can be quite rebellious. We celebrate Rose and her contribution.
This milestone merits distinct recognition. Southern lesbian feminist activists know how far we have come and how far we will go. How far we have come and how far we will go. Thank you, Rose.
We love you, Rose, so much.
Thank you, Rose.
Thank you so much. We've now arrived at the moment for Rose to speak for a minute or so.
I have three things. Number one, I feel like my retirement party, but this is not retirement. This is the beginning. And I know this astrologically because I read something that said, I think Jupiter is doing something it hasn't done in 12 years. Maybe he's gone into something. Anyway, there's a 12-year period. And I retired in 2010 from college teaching. This is 12 years later, and it's time for a new cycle to begin. And that cycle is the website. And the second thing, or maybe the third thing, I can't remember now, is I just have to acknowledge that Meryl Mushroom has been by my side all the way, through thick and thin. It was her idea. She has been a mainstay of this project, and we really owe her a huge debt. And there's probably something else. We could sure use somebody who knows WordPress to get involved in the project. Thank you all. Thank you all. I'm overwhelmed.
We love you.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who joined us this evening, who participated in putting together these very special issues of Sinister Wisdom. We have one more event in our spring series and the whole series for this year, a tribute to Alpha, the Atlanta Lesbian Feminist Association, I think, Association.
Alliance.
That the Alpha event is being organized by Lorraine Fontana, and more information is about this event at the Sinister Wisdom website. I'm putting the link into the chat there. Stay tuned over the summer. We have a great season planned for 2022, 2023, starting in the fall, with some just amazing events that we're cooking up over the summer. As always, for our final song, we have The L Word by songwriter Carol Kramer, performed by Your Girlfriend and produced by Esther Records. I'm going to just share the computer audio and start it now. Everyone's welcome to dance and unmute and wave and smile. And when the song ends, the Zoom call will end. Thank you so much for coming this evening.
If you can't
Thank you all. See you next
Thank
time.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Julie. Love you all.
This